Hello and welcome to 21st Century Music, where we help you to make better music and produce it.
MIDI stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface, and all quality musical equipment comes with jacks like this. These jacks permit the interconnection of various devices like keyboards, sequencers, drum machines and computers. Various tone generators are available that can extend the sounds of your keyboard, and even if you're playing a non-conventional instrument, there are devices that can interface the MIDI system to stringed and wind instruments as well. Within the MIDI system, the notes are recorded as numbers on a channel, and there are 16 channels available on which you can record your sequences. What we're observing here now is a note event. You can see the flashing cursor there now is on the timing. The first number is the bar. The first number is the bar, the second number is the beat. Stepping down below, we have a note event on channel 1, and it is an F note in octave 5. The octaves count up, so you have F and an octave there, and this here number now is the velocity, or number that represents the strength with which the note is struck. This number now represents the duration of the note. Our control changes, where this would be a control change on channel 1. This represents the particular control change number, what parameter is being changed, and this represents the value of the change. A program change, also on channel 1, allows us to change a number which represents the particular voice of an instrument, which of course would be relevant to the bank and voicing of the particular instrument being controlled. The first thing you need to set are the transmit and receive channels, and you have a choice from 1 to 16. The channel must match, the transmit channel must match the receive channel in order for sound to be heard. If the receiving device is set to Omni on, then any channel it receives will be played. So you only need to set Omni off if you want to program a receive channel, which once again can be set to anything from 1 to 16. In some devices, the control and program information is combined, and then you just have one channel setting, either off or on, for your channel information, which would relate to control like pitch bender and modulation, as well as program changes when the switches are changed to change the voices. A multi-timbral sound module can play several channels simultaneously, with each channel sounding on a different voice or timbre. And as we look here at the device, we see that this can play 8 separate channels plus a rhythm part, which makes 9. So we're going to see now that it's quite easy to set up the individual channels that you want. First you press part, then you go through the various parameters, key range and so forth, and then you reach a MIDI channel, and you can use the value buttons to select whatever you want. And then if you select the part, you can change any of the 8 parts and set up a different channel. In this case we have the channel number matching the particular part, and we have the rhythm channel on MIDI channel 10. The MIDI standard also provides a MIDI clock, start and stop signals, along with a song position pointer. And this becomes important when you are using external drum machines and sequencers. You have to decide which you want to be the master. Only one device can be the master in your system. If you choose to make the sequencer the master, then you will want to set your external drum machine to receive the MIDI clock in signal, and you'll want the clock out to be set off. But if you intend to use your drum machine to control your sequencer with the start, stop and continue buttons on the external drum machine, starting, stopping and continuing your song from any given position, then you will want to enable the clock out by turning it on and disable the clock in by turning it off. So you just have to make that decision as to from which device you intend to start and stop and rewind your song. Generally, if you're dealing with audio as well as MIDI, in other words your tracks are going to be a mix of audio and MIDI, I would suggest setting your drum machine as the slave in all cases and controlling using the clock that is in your sequencer. That will assure better timing between the MIDI parts and the audio parts. And in that case, to put it as a slave, you would want the clock out to be off and the clock in to be on. To acquire your MIDI drum track, you have several options. You may play the pads on your drum machine, or if you don't have an external drum machine, you may just play the dynamic pads on your MIDI controller, having assigned them to the respective note numbers of the drum sounds within your software. Or alternatively, if you don't have a dedicated controller, you can simply just play your drums by tapping keys on the keyboard. If you are a drummer, you may already have MIDI pads where you can play your MIDI pads with your conventional drumsticks. Whatever method you use to get your drums into your program, it's important to realize that it's not the drum sounds that are being recorded. So you can change the sounds after you have played. Generally, you might want to keep the individual MIDI channels on separate tracks during the initial creation of your music, but in this particular example I have just mixed them down. That is, I have just moved the events in several different MIDI channels and put them into a single MIDI track. So this MIDI track has in the drumming, some bass and keyboards on 2, 3, 4, 5 and 10. We've got the drum line on 10, we've got the bass on 4 and most of the basic keyboards on 5. There you can see that we have the MIDI information coming through our interface. folks, this is just a short one today, let you know that 21st Century Musician is still around, helping you to make better music. See you next time on 21st Century Music.